Elizabeth Warren was that sensible or that Mike Bloomberg was that clueless. And that's a legitimate commentary as well. Tim and Evans on line 3. What's up, Tim?
Hey there, Austin. Thanks for taking my call.
Yes, sir.
I'm calling to address this notion that Bernie Sanders is quote-unquote communist or socialist in akin to, say, the USSR, or China, or North Korea. I feel like anybody that's trying to make anyone think that is either ignorant, obtuse, or just plain trying to mislead people.
Can I ask you why he's had this great personal affection for Cuba and why he honeymooned in Russia? I mean, can you fill me in on this?
All right, listen, we live in a democracy, right?
Absolutely.
A lot of parts of our society are quote-unquote socialist as we live in it right now. Nobody seems to be complaining about those things. Let's say the roads that a lot of people that are listening to this show are driving on. How did those get built?
So everything that the government's a part of is socialistic?
Well, the concept of socialism, I think Bernie Sanders is trying to propose, is that we are all working together, and together we can provide things that can then develop systems or resources that then benefit all of us. That's what the kind of democratic socialism that Bernie Sanders proposes can do for us. Things like roads, schools, libraries, police and fire forces. These are all socialist programs by that definition.
There's a difference between communal governance or communal contributions to the public good, which is exactly what you're describing as well. Socialism, to me, is more clearly defined through Bernie Sanders by his 70% tax rate on millionaires. Now,
okay, well, that's another issue that I heard earlier in the show. You were talking about tax rates like that for the wealthy,
yes,
as if that's the percentage that they're going to pay on their entire income. That's not how progressive taxes work. They might pay that higher rate on the upper portion of the income, but not on their entire income. So the notion that when you get your tax bracket bumped up, suddenly you're going to get less money if you got a raise. That's not how taxes work.
My tax bracket right this minute my tax bill right this minute is going to go up under Bernie Sanders, which is not necessarily unusual. It's gone up under other presidents too. But the Jeff Bezos of the world, the Bill Gates of the world, do you think that it's a good idea that they surrender 70% of what they make?
I feel like they should contribute their fair share. Yes. How do you think they made all that money? They made all that money from the taxes that we paid that then provided the infrastructure in this country that allows the economy that we have to exist in the first place.
Okay. Well, now you're getting into communism, by the way, because
that's not communism. That's the country we live in right now. We live in a democratic. We live in a democratic country.
We built the roads, so the guy that delivers the milk owes us something back. I don't quite.
The guy that delivers the milk pays tax.
Wait a second. Well, what about Paul McCartney? What did he do, or excuse me, what did we do for him that gives us a cut of 70% of the money that he made from writing half the Beatles catalog?
Paul McCartney isn't a citizen of this country, but when he tours here, I'm sure that all the sales taxes and other things that come from that income that he makes come back to us in some way or form. Am I wrong? So if we buy a ticket to a Paul McCartney concert, the sales taxes from that ticket do not then go back to the government. He takes it all
another way. Hold on a minute. Well, I used McCartney as an example because he's somebody that did not depend on the highways or the roads or anything like that to create his product. And he didn't depend on anything other than his own artistic ability and his own gifts to do it. He didn't go out and depend on, a government grant or any of that. So you think, again, he deserves 70, or that we, the government, deserves 70% of what his talent has generated for him. And oh, by the way, because he owes us that because he performs here and we sell tickets and we get an additional cut of money that he generates on sales tax. That's even over and above his income tax. In other words, he's an industry.
Why is Paul McCartney
He's
paying income
and by
taxes
the
in
way,
America?
and by the way, well, I'm just using that as an example. The concept of paying taxes, period. Billy Joel. All right, we'll use Billy Joel. So Billy Joel has done all this, and he's written all these songs. He's worth all this money, and we're entitled. The government's entitled to 70%. And oh, by the way, when
70% of the upper portion of his income.
of over
Only
10
the
million.
top portion.
Okay, again, I reject out of hand your concept, but then you say that he owes us additionally because of the sales tax he generates. No, on top of what he
because of the
is.
sales tax, but because of the society that we have all contributed to create, is what supports his ability to exist as a performer in this country in the first place. You have to get back to the society that allows you to exist as you are. We are all, and all should be thankful for living where we are. And we should all contribute fairly back to it.
What about the bum on the street that refuses to do anything?
Well, that's
What
a matter
level?
of empathy right there. Would you rather that bum on the street die and be a pile of bones, or be your fellow man that you take care of?
Here's what's going to happen with the bums on the street if Austin's ever in charge. They become treated like minor children in that you don't beat them and you make sure they're fed. But I'll be damned if they're voting. I'll be damned if they're having any say in the society that I pay for.
And listen,
They
I can
don't- they're
empathize
not
with that. I can totally empathize with that because
Okay, well let's make that
if you're
happen
not
right now,
contributing.
because if you take the vote away from those people right now that are paying no income tax at all, I don't mean senior citizens. I'm talking about people between the ages of 18 and 65 that are not paying any federal income tax. You take the vote away from them right now, you'll not have a Democrat elected anywhere.
We're not going to necessarily believe in that because those people don't vote anyway.
Guarantee you in this part of the world, you go to public housing right now, which is taxpayer subsidized and paid for housing, and you look at the vote totals that come in when they count them up on election night down at Richmond County. They've got neighborhoods, and there's some neighborhoods that are kind of mixed. You got poor people here, rich people there. You look at the public housing, the Lake Olmsted homes, the Cherry Tree crossings. They are 95% straight Democrat. 95%.
Well, that might be true. Well, let's talk about rural versus people that live in cities and so on. I mean, when you look at the maps after voting is all said and done, there's a clear concentration of Democrats in cities. Clear concentration. Well, I don't know if you could call it
There's
a
a clear
concentration, but a
concentration
clear
of Democrats
benefit for
in public
Republicans
housing.
in the rural areas.
There is a clear concentration of Democrats in public housing. There was a housing complex in Cleveland that had something along the lines of 14,000 voters, and of the 14,000 voters, do you know how many people voted for Mitt Romney?
Let's hear it.
Two. And it was
Well,
probably
that
by
doesn't surprise me at
accident.
all.
I mean, and again, there's a party of the givers and a party of the takers. And
Well,
this
see, that's unfair. That is unfair. There are plenty of Democratic voters out there that are contributing members of society like myself and whoever else in our listening area that's maybe hearing this right now that knows for a fact that they are empathetic givers that contribute to our society, that know for a
Tim,
fact that
there is no
by
doubt.
providing that,
There's
we are benefiting
absolutely-
our
I know.
society.
Tim, I know and love several of those people that you're talking about. There's no doubt about it. But what I'm telling you is, when it comes to winning elections, if it weren't for the social welfare class, you guys, especially in the South, would be nowhere. You wouldn't even be. You wouldn't be at the table.
Well,
That's the biggest problem that conservatives have. But what really gets me about the Bernie Sanders of the world, and the reason that I think if he gets the nomination, you're going to see Bill Gates and all these people stand up and say, whoa, is because if you dismantle a millionaire's ability to become a super millionaire or a billionaire, you take away his incentive to do all the great things that the Amazons of the world and the Microsofts of the world and the Apples of the world have done.
I find that to be a little bit flawed. I don't think anybody's going to stop trying to reach for more just because they have to pay a little bit more taxes. And plus,
A little bit more taxes.
yeah, well, let's say a lot. That's the way it was back in the 1950s. It was 90% effective tax rate on the upper portion of the wealthy's income. And everybody looks back to the 1950s. That was the golden age of our nation because everything was so wonderful and grand.
That was when they invented loopholes and they made sure that nobody recorded their incomes correctly. I mean, the people that lived fabulous lifestyles were all tax dodgers, and they did it with
They
the
still
loopholes
are
that
tax
the
dodgers.
law
What are you
provided
talking
them.
about?
The only way, in my humble opinion, to be fair about taxation is to go to a consumption tax, and that way, when Jeff Bezos flies in his private jet, he's paying tax on that. When the working class people and everybody would get a rebate back, so that the poorest among us would not be taxed at all. As a matter of fact, that would solve the homeless problem. You issue every man, woman, and child in this country a check a month, once a month, $1,000. You solve the homeless problem overnight, except for the most profoundly mentally ill people. You solve the homeless problem. You do so much good at that point, and you make sure you do away with the IRS. Man, wouldn't that be a great thing? You do away with tax cheats. Anybody out there selling drugs pays their tax. Anybody out there that's in prostitution pays their tax. There's nobody dodging it at that point. That's when we pay fair taxes.
Was that universal basic income that you just supported?
No, it's not universal basic income. It's an income tax rebate. It's not, that's not a guarantee. You're not getting something for nothing. You're getting a rebate back of what you pay in the sales tax. All right, Tim, appreciate the call. Good points. But if Bernie Sanders